So I'm making this video today because I wanted to share my history of having an eating disorder. I had anorexia. Anorexia is kind of like, having an eating disorder is kind of like shingles, where once you have it, in times of stress, it can come back again. And so it's definitely something that there are times where you don't feel like you ever fully recover. But I just wanted to share my story as well and the history. I left home in 2004. I went to a summer program and then I moved to Carlisle, Pennsylvania. I turned 17 that summer. Carlisle was a ballet school. It was a very interesting experience. It was my first time away from home, homeschooled, culture shock. I lived with two girls from Hawaii and Israel who they were going through culture shock too. It was definitely an experience. So I came in with an injury. I had a sprained ankle. It was misdiagnosed. Basically, really rough start. So by the end of the first year, I was in class off and on because of my ankle sprain. It was really demoralizing. Summer of 2005, I just graduated high school and I did a summer class at Harrisburg Area Community College, and I did the ballet program at Central Pennsylvania Youth Ballet. And then summer was pretty good. Summer was alright, but I was beginning to feel the wear and tear on my soul of being away from home for so long. And a year. I went home for Thanksgiving, Christmas, and Easter, which was, having been homeschooled, that was a huge shock to me. So something really important happened. In the beginning of that year, I had a car accident. Someone turned into me and it was a hit-and-run car accident. That was April 15th, 2005. So summer happened and summer was alright. And then Hurricane Katrina raised the gas prices. And then I was trying to go to school 3 times a week when the fall semester started. And Harrisburg is half an hour one way from Carlisle. And on Highway 81, which is, sometimes it has more trucks than cars, and you've never driven on a challenging highway until you've been tailgated by a truck. Although South Florida's 95 is equal in adrenaline intensity, so point being, I was going to school 3 times a week. Gas prices shot up astronomically, and this time I was trying to live on $50 a week. There was more money in the account, but the budget that was thought out was $50 a week. So gas prices, 3 hours of straight driving plus your inner town commute. I walked through the grocery store with $6 one time. And I'll never forget the desperate feeling that was. Looking at people who were in the store at Giant Eagle and, seriously contemplating begging for food. my parents were searching every dollar at home and they didn't realize what the math was going on where I was. Um, so I remember another time I bought a box of tea and a thing of honey because I wanted to drink some tea, and I looked at the receipt after the purchase and I realized I'd gone over my $50 allowance, and so I returned the box of tea and the thing of honey, and it couldn't have come out to like more than $5. So when you start to live within that kind of parameter, your mind just, you get into a very closed circuit, tunnel vision view of survival. And you don't think straight. Because of everything leading up to everything that got on the year before. The culture shock, leaving home, not finding friends easily. I was really angry at how life was turning out at this point. I mean, I'd had an amazing summer in 2004, and I really wanted just, to fulfill my calling, dancing, and, live my dreams and pursue my purpose and passion. And honestly, sometimes life doesn't turn out the way you expect. But you have to keep on going. So, things started to get bad when I decided to take my anger out on myself, and I decided to eat less. All the girls that I was with were obsessing about their weight, and I'm really skinny. Thing is, I don't realize how skinny I am, so I just kind of was, well, if you're obsessing about your weight, then maybe I should obsess about my weight too. So peer pressure and not having, how do you know what size you are? Yeah. When I actually realize how skinny I am, I'm like, man, how do all my organs fit? But anyways, so I stopped eating, and I tried to be really, really cheap with my money that I did have, and so I bought frozen meatballs, and I bought bananas, and I got really sick of both of those, and I stopped eating them. And I would open the fridge and be like, ugh, meatballs. And I'd close the fridge again. And I would choose not to eat rather than to eat the meatballs. And the bananas would go bad on the counter. And I would put them in the fridge. And I would just ugh. I don't eat meatballs very much. And I'm finally starting to get around to bananas. But if I have a whole range of fruit in front of me, they're going to be the last thing I voluntarily choose to eat. Although I genuinely like banana bread, but not when I made it then, because I was not a good cook at all. Yeah, don't confuse red wine vinegar with red wine. It doesn't turn out the same. So learning to cook also didn't really help, but I didn't have much opportunity to learn. I'd never been curious before about cooking. And I come from a family that has a lot of food allergies, so there's a lot of restrictions on what you can do. And I would like to think that now I'm a different cook than the way that my mom cooks, and she was dealing with a lot of chronic pain and 3 kids and homeschooling 3 kids. So honestly, I'm just really glad that I had nutritious meals, but at the same time, I didn't ever like food, and I didn't ever like eating. It wasn't, something I looked forward to doing. It was like, oh, can I please put this in my stomach so I can get back to the creative, interesting thing that I was doing? So, and that's kind of stuck with me today, too, still, yeah. So, when the semester started, there was a friend in town who lived far enough away from the ballet school that her mom wasn't comfortable with her walking home at night after classes, because class went from 5:30 to 9:30 straight every single day, Monday through Friday. And if you were a good CPYB student, you would go to the 4:30 classes and take from Leslie at the barn, or you would go to the Tuesday and Thursday classes with Marcia at the barn. Yeah. And then like the higher levels had even earlier classes that started like 2:30 or whatever, and yeah, and that's not even Saturday's schedule. Saturday's schedule, the best class was 9 to 10 with Leslie, and then 10, you dance straight from 10 to 6 with 2 half-hour breaks. I did the math, I was dancing like 35 hours a week, and that wasn't like, 35 hours a week in ballet class moving my body. I actually put muscle on my bone for a change, so it was pretty interesting. My friend in town would get out of class at 9:30, and she and I made a deal that I would drive her home for a couple dollars, literally a couple dollars. So one week, everything was starting to come together and really impact me, and I got sick. So I was home sick, and I got off the phone with my mom, and I told her, listen, I know it's not safe for me to drive very much, but I'm just gonna go pick up this girl and take her home and then come back. My mom's in upstate New York. And the phone was like the electronic umbilical cord, I kid you not. Yeah. So I got off the phone and I got in the car, and I was wearing really baggy clothes that did not match at all. And I was really bundled up because it wasn't like it was super cold, it was just brisk, but I'd lost enough weight at that point that that I was cold in bad circumstances, in normal temperatures where people are comfortable. So I got in the car and I was driving down the road, and there was a new light that they'd put in at the underpass of the highway. And I was looking to the left at a cross that was backlit behind a church building. And I was asking God, I've tried to do everything your way, the right way, my entire life. Why is everything so hard for me? Why are you crushing me? And by the time I looked forward, there was a beige SUV that was like 4 or 6 feet away. and I was going 40 miles an hour. And when I opened my eyes, the airbag was deflating, and there was a smell of gunpowder, and the music was still playing, but the engine was off. It was really weird. And I got out of the car. This is my second car accident. The first one being, 20 feet away, exactly 6 months earlier. April 15th, 2005, October 15th, 2005. And those were basically the days between when I got my anorexia. It was a good thing that we had it was a good thing that we spent money on the car charger for the cell phone, because my phone was dead. But I pulled it out and I happened to have the phone number of the woman the girl was staying with, and I called her that I couldn't make it. So she picked up my friend. It was really crazy. I was crying and there was snot running down my nose and my face, and I'm on the phone. I snap out of it to get on the phone with this lady that my friend's living with, and I'm like laughing it off. I didn't tell her I had an accident, but I'm just, having surface conversation and I'm laughing, and then I turn the phone off and I hang up and I go right back to snot flow. And I'll never forget the woman who was behind me she stayed with me until my friends from church came, and she told me that someone had been there for her and now it was her turn to be there for me, and that I would pass it on one day. And I did, and I have already. So they towed the car, and traffic was all backed up, and it was really embarrassing. And I had pancakes at my friend's house, and I slept over. And then they took me to church, and then they drove me home. And then my mom drove the 6 hours to meet me Sunday afternoon because it was a Saturday. Yeah. And she was there for a few days. I don't even remember how long. Just getting things with the car straightened out and figuring out what we were gonna do, and just, putting me back together, because I was a complete wreck. And I didn't even know what was wrong. But I distinctly remember in that time taking a bath, and then afterwards, while my hair was still wet and my hair was hanging over my head and my face, and I just remembered feeling so broken and empty and heavy, like my hair was chains that were pulling me down. So, the way that I found out I had an eating disorder was while my mom was there. We were sharing the queen bed or whatever. I'm getting ready for bed, and I'm in my pajamas, and I looked at myself in the mirror, and I even turned sideways, and I told my mom I wish I really was skinny. I'm one of the smallest build people. Like, other dancers want my body. They have asked to cut off my legs and steal them. They want my proportions, they want my shoulders, they want my arms, they want my head shape, my hips. Like, God gave me a ballerina body. And here I am saying that I wish I was actually skinny. I had no idea. So, gentlemen, if you think a girl looks skinny or is beautiful, or you're assuming that she knows that, don't assume she knows that, because I didn't. And a lot of times I'm afraid of being beautiful. That's a completely different story, and I'm not ready to talk about that. So, but at the same time, it is related to anorexia and eating disorders. But it's kind of opposite, being afraid of being beautiful. Anyways, so I tell my mom this, and she says, we're taking you downstairs and putting you on the scale. And I have a frame that's 5'8" and I look taller because I have really good posture. And that is the grace of God. Ballet training aside, my good posture is the grace of God. I weighed 111 pounds. 111 pounds at 5'8". So, when my hair was wet and all over me and I just felt really heavy, I was wondering, how was I going to get out of this? And who was this person I had become? I was so broken. That was October 2005. And I processed that brokenness through 2005. I performed once in Carlisle, Pennsylvania in the spring of 2005. That was the first time I performed in 2.5 years. You tell a football player to practice for 2.5 years and not be in a game. And that's how I felt. God was definitely breaking me, and the biggest thing that I learned from that whole experience was that I desperately need God. I am nothing without Jesus. And my capability of doing anything important or worthwhile that isn't motivated by selfishness or insincerity or seeking validation and self-satisfaction, it is non-existent, it is impossible without Jesus Christ. There is nothing good in me separate from Him. After 2005, in 2006, I performed that spring. I moved to Pittsburgh. I was there in Pittsburgh for that summer and the next through to the spring of 2008. And I processed that pain and that memory from that eating disorder moment those entire 2 years. And I would go to the grocery store and I would spend a lot of money on food because I was trying to get myself to want to eat. And I made progress, and it was very slow and very tedious, and I learned how to cook, and I learned how to use fresh garlic, and I used how to learn how to use herbs, and okay, I'm not sure where the video cut off, but I'm gonna start where I'm supposed to. So I joined the church and the Bible study in both Carlisle and Pittsburgh, and the people in my Bible studies didn't really know what I was going through, which wasn't their fault because I didn't really know what I was going through. Even when I was healing, it was a very messy process, and it was difficult not to be completely self-absorbed by the process. So I was in Carlisle, Pennsylvania for a total of 2-year terms and 1 summer between. And I was in Pittsburgh for a total of a summer, a year term, and then a summer, and then a year term, and then I left in the spring of 2008. And I moved here to Florida. So, here in Florida, I'm actually in my kitchen that I've lived in for almost 6 years now, and I have a really large kitchen, and I had friends in real life, not just on the internet for a change, which is really amazing. And I've learned how to cook. I learned how to cook efficiently and make things in large batches so I can take them to work and eat them and be wise with my money. Which initially was really hard because I was learning how to make myself like food again. So I actually spent a lot of money on food that was very inefficient because I really didn't know how to meal plan. For me, a lot of getting over my anorexia was developing the skill to learn how to cook, to learn how to plan ahead, to learn what I like to eat and how to make it, and how to be efficient with my time. And at the end of the day, that's adulthood. Those are adult skills that you need if you're going to be a mom or run a business. You have to think ahead and organize, and so it was a really, really painful process. But God knew what he was doing. And if I hadn't been through this eating disorder, I wouldn't be able to identify with people who have had it a lot worse than I have. I lost 9 pounds. Normally I'm 120 at 5'8", but there are people who their system starts to shut down, and I'm very, very, very blessed I never got that far. Another thing that was kind of frustrating as I was healing, I wish I wasn't so self-absorbed with the process, but that was all I knew at that point, and that was all that my life was at that moment, and my dreams were crushed and broken pretty thoroughly. But I still wish I hadn't been so self-absorbed. And then something that was kind of, people who haven't had eating disorders don't understand the mentality. They think it's about putting food in and then swallowing it and then it goes in your stomach. And yes, but why are you swallowing? And why are you chewing? And why are you preparing that food that you're going to chew and swallow? And what is your nutritional motivation? A lot of girls, when they're recovering from anorexia, they go to carbs because carbs is a simple sugar and it breaks down, and so you kind of have that, you feel full, but you also have that sugar high and then drop effect. And so learning to cook vegetables in a way that I liked was a process. And I still don't eat vegetables as much as I want to, as much as I need to, but I'm making progress. And learning to cook meat in a way that I liked was a process. people who didn't have anorexia would tell me, oh, you just need to eat or have some candy. And candy isn't gonna help, because people with anorexia, they've started, they especially if they're recovering and they're eating a lot of carbs and their blood sugar is already doing this thing, then eating candy is only going to make it worse with the sugar high and then the drop. At this point, it really depends on the person, what they need and where they're at, and helping them to grow emotionally and spiritually, and helping them talk through what they're learning on the mental side of the equation is going to be more helpful than just telling them to eat. Because they know they need to do that, but we know we need to do lots of things and we don't do it, so. When was the last time you flossed your teeth? But you know what they say, only floss the ones you want to keep. So, but anyways, I'm off my soapbox now, so. So, that's my story of anorexia, and it's been a process. It's been really painful. I am now 26 years old. It's 2014, and I'll be 27 this July. And tonight was Talk About It Tuesday, and I hadn't filmed yet, and I felt kind of bad about it, and I was feeling anorexic because I got busy doing stuff, and I finished with closet stuff that I was cleaning and organizing and packing and putting it away and doing this and doing that and blah 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 blah, and sitting on my Twitter, because I'm back on Twitter for the first time in like a week, and it got to be like 11:30, and I don't want to eat, and life has been really challenging lately, so I'm a little emotionally down, and I was recognizing all of the anorexia things, and I was like, ugh. And what I realized is that this is the perfect time to film this vlog, because I'm in the thick of it right now. I mean, this morning, I did not eat breakfast. I feel better when I eat a bowl of cereal and some milk. I had lunch, which was, I started with 2 cookies, and then I had chicken and pizza left over from the Super Bowl. And then I had a cup of tea, and then I went to ballet, and ballet class started around 5. So that's 1 meal for my entire day. And I got home, and I was busy until 11, and I didn't eat since like 8:30 on Monday. 8:30 p.m. Monday, and my next meal was 1:30 p.m. Tuesday. So I was definitely feeling anorexic and emotional from everything that I'm processing and other stuff that God's been working with me on that's too raw to talk about here, and why I'm afraid of being beautiful and stuff like that. So I made myself a mango juice smoothie with frozen mangoes and some juice that I had in the fridge, but this is also sugar, and so now I'm going to eat up my collard greens. I cooked collard greens with some herbs and some apricot jam. They turned out a little bit more bitter than I expected, but I'm going to put some on my toaster oven sheet with tin foil, and I'm going to eat it. So that way at least I'll have some vegetables and some fiber and some green stuff in my system. And then I might even have a bowl of cereal tonight just because I need more in my system. So that's pretty much all I have to say for this vlog. I definitely struggled with self-harm in a scab picking way throughout that entire process in those 4 years, and I still struggle to this day with that. I've made progress. I've blogged about my self-harm more than my eating disorder. I did post a blog about my eating disorder. My self-harm blog, the update on that, and then also the eating disorder blog will be in the links in the description below. And those are all on my blog, meglivinginsideout.net, and those will probably be under hurt or healing. So you can find them that way too. meglivinginsideout.net/on/hurt. So they'll definitely be there for sure, along with a lot of my other blogs on hurt and healing and processing things. So I hope this video has blessed you, and I hope it's opened your eyes to kind of the process of, where does anorexia come from? Because it doesn't just start out of nowhere. And why do people do it? And, a lot of people say it's control issues. For me, it was being angry and not wanting to hurt anybody else, but not thinking highly enough of myself to not hurt me. And in my opinion, that's the root of both anorexia, bulimia, binging, and self-harm. And self-harm has its own subcategories. So, I'm very thankful for everything I've been through, because God's made me a deeper person, and He's healed me from a lot of things, and He's going to heal me from more things. And most of all, I want to see people go to Jesus for their emotional and spiritual healing. And when you're emotionally and spiritually healed, which is a very painful process, as God does that in you, you heal physically with the external symptoms of the internal. So, my name is Meg. I love my Jesus. And I believe in living inside out.